everybody, it's Lori. Today we're going to be taking on a somewhat controversial topic. I don't know how much controversy we are going to dredge up here, but this is not a cozy mystery, and I'm about to tell you why. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you'll take a moment and subscribe down below and become a part of this growing channel. I am so excited to be able to talk about one of my absolute favorite topics, which is cozy mysteries. I'm incredibly passionate about this topic. I have been reading them for 20 to 25 years. I feel like I went from the Nancy Drew era into some cozy mysteries. They weren't as popular, obviously. They have been growing in popularity, but there were still some popular series, and that's typically what you see with cozies. My favorite of all time started in the 1960s. I know book 2 was published in 1967, so that gives you a little bit of a context of where these started. Today we're going to talk about what a cozy mystery is. I'm seeing a lot of booktubers talk about cozy mysteries, and there are times that I'm a little bit like, oh yikes, that's not a cozy. So I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about what actually is a cozy mystery and why I think the Thursday Murder Club is not a cozy mystery. So let's jump in first. Let's talk about what a cozy mystery actually is. So typically, and I'm going to stop there and say for a caveat, just like anything else in life, there can be exceptions to the rule. There can be outliers, but there are some main conventions in the way that a typical cozy or most of your cozies are written, that if that is broken, it immediately disqualifies them from being a cozy mystery. And we'll talk about those. So the first convention that you typically see is that they are a series of books. I don't think I've seen anything less than 3 books in a particular series. So I guess it's just like anything else. If it's not selling, then the publisher wouldn't extend it past those 3 books. But with cozies, you're going to get a series unless it's a specific standalone, which is rare. I would say 98% of the time or more, these are going to be a series of books. The next thing that you're going to see with a cozy is that they're set in a small town or have a small setting. So maybe it's a island resort. That could be different than a small town, but you're going to have an enclosed type of setting where you get to know the characters really well in their routines. The main character may go outside of that particular small town to another area or small town for a particular case at the request of, friends or family, or maybe they're on vacation and something happens. You'll see that as well, but you get to know a specific cast of characters that you see over and over again throughout the book. The next thing that you have is the main character is an amateur sleuth. So for whatever reason, they stumble, or I say bumble, upon a case and they start to investigate. They are not going to be a member of law enforcement or, your CSI team or forensic expert. They are going to be somebody that may have very limited knowledge, but a whole lot of curiosity. Like, their curiosity abounds. The other thing is the reason why they tend to get involved with the first case is usually they are the ones that are accused of the first murder in the first book, or somebody that they're very close to. So it could be a spouse, a parent, brother or sister or a best friend, and they become involved to try to protect them and keep them from going to prison. Other times you will see that the main character is trying to protect his or her business, and most amateur sleuths in these books are female. Can be either, but you will see the majority of the case as being a female. So they are trying to protect their reputation, their business, their livelihood, their life. They don't want to go to prison for something that they didn't do. So they feel like they can't trust the police to do the right thing or find the right killer, and that they know the area and the people and their town better than the police do. So they typically jump in and try to help. This amateur sleuth is highly educated. They will oftentimes be coming back to their hometown after a bad breakup or the death of a family member who then leaves them a business or some money, and they want to reinvent themselves and change their life. They're looking for a change, so they come back to their hometown or they move to a small town. Maybe that they have a connection there for one reason or another. They vacation there, they love it. Or like I said, a relative leaves them a business to run, and so they move there to run this business, reinvent themselves, and start over, only to find that they are now embroiled in this murder investigation, and they feel like in order to preserve their life and their livelihood, they need to assist the police in solving this particular crime. One thing that you absolutely will not see, or some things that you will absolutely not see in a cozy mystery, include graphic scenes of violence or sex. You're not going to have blood and guts everywhere. It's not going to be super highly suspenseful in terms of scare factor. You're not going to have a lot of shock value in the particular mystery, and you're not going to have graphic scenes of the body or see the murder scene play out in front of you where the victim is stabbed 50 times and blood is, spewing everywhere. You're not going to have that in a cozy mystery. You're not going to have explicit language or sex scenes in the cozy mysteries. Think a grown-up version of Nancy Drew without all of the R and X-rated elements that you might see in other thrillers or mystery series. You also see that the victim oftentimes is seen as a bad person, somebody that not everybody is super upset that they are now gone. It might be somebody that is swindling members of the town council or trying to buy up land to develop into, condos or apartments where the rest of the town wants it to be a beautiful park. It might be somebody that is just known as, just a horrible overall person. It doesn't happen all of the time, but you see that more times than not, where you don't feel particularly bad that this person has now been murdered. It wouldn't be a child. You wouldn't see that. It's going to be an adult and be somebody that is oftentimes not well liked. Our next aspect of a cozy is that you're going to get a lot of red herrings that try to throw you off so that you don't figure out who the murderer was within the first chapter. There are going to be other things that throw you off. There are going to be clues that lead to nothing, or that are coincidences that, again, try to throw you off of the scent. Also tries to throw our amateur off of the scent of the trail of the particular murderer in these cases. And sometimes the murderer itself is trying to do that. They're trying to pin it on somebody else. Oftentimes it's that main character, that amateur sleuth that we're following, and so they continue to try to pin the murder on them. Along with our amateur sleuth, we have some other factors that really play a very large role in cozy mysteries. The atmosphere is hugely important, as well as the cast of characters that you have and the setting. So those are main elements that you're going to see, as well as descriptions of activities of daily life, or ADL. So you're going to have descriptions of townsfolk or other characters that you will see repeat themselves in subsequent books. You'll get to know these people that are important to this main character and who they surround their life with, people that are oftentimes, somewhere where they shop for their groceries, get their hair and nails done, or they work, or they participate in charitable foundations or activities. So you will get to know those people that are important to the main sleuth's activities in their life. You will also see descriptions of what they're wearing, or there'll be like a scene where they jump in the shower and they're thinking through the mystery while shampooing their hair, and then they put on their jeans and their brown boots and their cozy knit sweater, that type of thing. You'll hear their routine for the day where they stop and get coffee, or you'll know that they typically have a bagel in the morning and black coffee, and they stop on their way to work, pick up a newspaper and wave at the security guard. So you'll see those types of activities that really build up to a routine, so you get to know this main character on a much deeper level. They also talk about food a lot in these mysteries. Sometimes you'll get some really great recipes, so highly recommend those. Yeah, they always sound delicious. Have I made a lot of them? No, but there are a few that I've definitely tried and they are great. I've added them to the recipe repertoire. Might be something to consider. They also talk about their jobs and how they do that particular job. A lot of times you'll see them as a caterer or a florist. It might be a personal trainer. They might run a retail establishment, inn, or a coffee shop or a bakery. Those types of things, and they'll talk about their business and how they're running their business, what they need to do to keep the business running. You'll see that a lot of times in cozy mysteries. After the first book, what draws them into the mystery can be a variety of factors, but a lot of times it will be word will get out that they really helped the police on this particular case, and now this other person that they know has decided that they are the person that is the only one that can help them. And the police aren't listening, so the only way that they can get help is by enlisting the help of this particular amateur. And so you will see that going on. You'll also see maybe the person has stumbled upon a body or, again, been framed for a murder. Another thing that's really important to remember is most of the time there's going to be a single point of view that you are going to see. Every once in a while, you will have a little snippet from the murderer's point of view, but it's very brief. It's, something along the lines of, they left the package that, on the front porch of this amateur, and that's going to do them in. They've called it into the police, and that's going to do them in and totally throw them off. So this murderer will get away scot-free. But most of the time, it's going to be from the point of view of the main character or in third person talking about them and how they went about their day and who they talked to and the things that they did to solve this mystery. You're not going to have alternating points of view from a large cast of characters, because what a cozy really ultimately tries to do, and this is the bottom line here, is to build an atmosphere through all of these things that make you feel warm and comfortable and invited, like you're going back home. You're literally going back home and visiting some really good friends, having a cup of coffee and a nice meal and sitting down for a great chat. That's what it's trying to do. And so they use all of these elements that we've just talked about to evoke that feeling. And yes, there's a mystery, but you want to be challenged as well, and you want to have that thought-provoking aspect as well while you're feeling like you're visiting with some cozy friends. You really are. And that's where we get our cozy mystery from. So I have just taken a few minutes to talk about all the elements of what a cozy mystery is. So let's take a minute and talk about why I don't think the Thursday Murder Club constitutes a cozy mystery. First of all, let's start with the basics. Let's just, let's not overlook the first thing that we're seeing. Let's take a look at the cover. First of all, it says a novel. It doesn't say cozy mystery. Let's just take it from that. But let's take a look at something that is definitely a cozy mystery, bills itself as such, and everybody knows it as such. This is your typical cozy mystery cover. Let's show a few more just to get a sense of what they typically look like. So you have these covers and they have, very bright colors. You have, kind of a, I don't know if I want to say cartoonish style of them. And it's kind of zany, kind of fun, kind of draws you in. All right, so that's our first clue. If we're going to solve the mystery here, that's our first clue. Second was the fact that it calls itself a novel. This also, I did check in my local library and at my local bookstores, is put in with mystery fiction, is not in with a cozy mystery section. So that was another clue. So just based on our first initial impression, I would say I'm questioning it a little bit. The next one is, in this particular book series, there is a group of elderly individuals, I think in their 70s or 80s, that are living in this retirement village that meet on Thursdays to discuss cold cases. So they are cold mystery murder cases that they meet. They want to discuss it, see if they can put their heads together and solve them. Okay, they are all amateurs, which does fit the bill, but there are 4 of them. You don't get one main character that is the one that stumbles or bumbles upon a mystery or is somehow pulled or sucked in because their life is on the line, or they feel the need to solve it because somebody that they love and care for is going to be charged with the murder. The other thing is, this book really jumps around from points of view. You're going to get the point of view not only from the 4 main characters, but also from the police. You would not see that in a cozy mystery. You don't hear the police's perspective. They are really not even main characters for the most part, unless our main character themselves is involved in a relationship with them. But you still only see the point of view of the police in the 3rd person or from the perspective of our main character. So you never see the perspective of the police in a cozy mystery. Also, in this, I wouldn't say there's a particularly cozy or small town feel or vibe or atmosphere. Yes, it's set in a retirement village, but there's a lot less description of that particular village or retirement home than you would see in a cozy. You would feel like you walked through the halls of this retirement village, that you could recognize the town. In most cases, I feel like after reading a couple of books in the series that the town actually exists, I know, and that I could actually visit it. It feels so vivid and alive and warm in my mind that it becomes almost a real place or real people. I know that it's not. I know that. But it's trying to give you a vivid sense of it being real and being somewhere that you want to visit. In this, it felt, to me, cold and sterile almost in some aspects. It really didn't evoke those images for me. Another thing that I will say is there weren't a lot of descriptions of their activities of daily life, or what they were eating, or what they were wearing, or what they did as a typical daily routine. You wouldn't know, for example, what a character in this group did on a Sunday morning. In a cozy, you would. You would know if the person went to church, or if they went hiking on Sundays, or if they volunteered at their local charity, or went to the library, or slept in and enjoyed some quiet time reading. We didn't know anything about that. It wasn't really described in here. So you didn't get to know the characters on a much deeper level where you feel like you're peeking in the window at them and watching their daily life. I'm not going to give anything away in terms of spoilers for this particular story, but the ending for this is not an ending for a cozy. Cozy mystery everything will be wrapped up, tied in a nice little bow. You will know exactly what was done and why, and it will all kind of tie back together, and everybody will happily go on their merry way. There are aspects in the ending for this that I don't feel like fits that pattern. You can judge it for yourself when you read it, but I just didn't feel like it fit the typical cozy, and again, 99% of them, cozy pattern. Another thing I found in our book is that clues were found outside of the main setting. So you have your main setting as the retirement village and the surrounding areas of that, including the cemetery and the hill and those other aspects of the setting. But the main characters leave, or some of them leave, to go to other areas of the country to track down some clues. That is not something that happens in a cozy, at least in the first few books, because in a cozy, they want to make sure that they establish very clearly for you this setting, this, again, small town or resort or area of the countryside. And if they're leaving it frequently, that's not going to keep drawing you in and getting you to know the cast of characters and the setting itself. So in this particular book, we find ourselves a couple of times with the main characters heading out of town in search of clues. So that was another thing that was very, very different from a cozy. Another thing is the cast was very large. There were a lot of things going on. There were red herrings, I will say. So there were red herrings. There were two aspects of this particular book that I didn't think were necessary in any way, shape, or form that I felt were only there as red herrings. But in a cozy, it's not going to be a whole another storyline. It's going to be just aspects of it, little things that are going to happen. They're going to try to throw you off. It's not going to be a whole different storyline that, in my mind, could have been a whole book. There were both of those aspects that I didn't think really needed to be in there, really could have been developed by the author into another book and could have made it really, really interesting. I was bored by those topics. That doesn't happen in a typical cozy. There's just going to be quick clues or things to try to throw you off the scent, frame somebody else, not necessarily a whole nother line of thinking with a whole nother suspect. There was a lot going on. You wouldn't typically see that. And again, I really asked myself throughout the reading of this book why they cared so much. It felt like it wasn't personal enough. It didn't feel like they were engaged enough for the reasons that I thought that they should be. And, I kept questioning that. And in a cozy mystery, it would be really, really obvious why the person was involved. Were there some aspects that made this a cozy? Absolutely. There were no gratuitous scenes of violence or language or sex or, torture. There weren't any items that I was particularly thinking, oh my gosh, well, here it is. I mean, it's clear as day. It's not a cozy. But I will tell you, when I started reading this book, I immediately knew it wasn't. And I really feel the reason why is because it didn't evoke any of those feelings immediately. You didn't feel like you could sit down in a cozy cafe with this main character and know them through and through and have a cup of coffee and have an interesting conversation with them. I didn't really feel like I got to know any of the characters in this book in that way. I didn't particularly want to visit this particular area. I wouldn't recognize it if I stumbled upon it, honestly. Based on the descriptions, I wouldn't even recognize the people. And that's really what I'm looking for in a cozy. And I know those are the standards factors that you find in a cozy. Now, do I think that people that like cozies will like this? Yes, I think this would be kind of like a bridge. If you are looking for something that's not exactly a thriller or a police procedural or torture scenes or blood and guts and violence, but you don't want to go all the way to a cozy where you have recipes in it. You want a little bit more zip and zing. I think this is a mid-range. I feel like this is a good range between the two. Whereas if you really want to make sure that you don't have graphic scenes of torture, no jump scares, no offensive language, I think this is really going to be a good choice for you. I think it's a really great bridge between the two genres, but it's definitely not either one of them. Okay, so we talked about a little bit about our controversial topic of the day, which is why I think that book is not a cozy. It's not. I will tell you, they're definitely not a cozy mystery, and that one particularly is not a cozy. It was also not a favorite. I will tell you, I gave it a 3-star, and the more I think about it, the less I agree. Maybe a 2.5 star. I know. Wasn't terrible, but there were times that I felt like I had to really push myself to finish the book. I feel like it should have been 50 pages less. I feel like this was written by somebody, you could tell it was a first book, somebody that felt that they were never going to get another book deal or a book published and wanted to put all their great ideas into one book. I think that it could have been separated out, like I said. A couple of the side plots that went off in different directions could have been a book in itself and could have been very interesting. I felt myself drawn to one in particular, which, I don't want to give too much away, that I thought would have made an excellent book on its own and could have had some really, really good red herrings to keep you off the scent. I have heard that the second book in the series is much better and is the favorite so far. I will read that one, but if I don't enjoy it and I feel myself skipping ahead or wanting to just get done with the book, I will stop the series at that point. But I do want to give it another chance. I'm hopeful that some of those items will be addressed and maybe it won't be as stuffed full and packed of things that really didn't overall mean anything to the overall storyline. And I really I wasn't invested, nor did I care about as much as I probably should have. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me on this topic of cozies. My next video, where we're going to talk about some of the cozy mysteries that I recommend if you're just starting off reading the genre and you want to know some others that you can pick up and just dive into to see if that particular series is right for you. So I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.